Hello, growth guys and gals. This is Ashley from Small Town Marketer, and you are joining me for the PartnerPath podcast. So this is a space where we believe that if you need to reach a market that you can't alone, you can do so without increasing your turnover of your people or your customers and get a good return on your investment. So last episode was kind of my official introduction to the podcast, and thank you everybody for all of your support. It took a lot to put that out there, but like I said, back to the finale of that video, it's all about just doing hard things and knowing that you can do hard things. And so at the end I had said, I was thinking about a little 6-part series. I think I need to start with a couple foundational topics to kind of kick us off on the right foot, so to speak. So, full disclosure, I am not perfect at this. This is my first time testing out speaking my voice in a long form type of content like this, but I'm hoping that you guys will have lots of patience with me. And as I say, I am going to be taking small swigs of my water as we chat for your own benefit and mine. So apologies to the folks at home who have to hear that audio only. Just know that it makes it my life and yours easier. So, and also full disclosure too, I'm honestly kind of doing this off the seat of my pants right now. I know that I have a lot to say and it has a lot of weight, but if I like to coin it procrastinating or planning paralysis, if I keep planning what I'm gonna say, I'm never gonna say it. Because like I said in the intro video, nobody's ever going to tell you that this is the right time to start or this is the right time to talk, you know? You just need to feel it and know that you might have some people that disagree or that don't see the topics that you're talking about in the same way, but have empathy and know that they have their own experiences and their own perspectives, and that's okay. So those who would like to stick around and listen to just a small town girl talk about her new vision for marketing, I'm excited to keep you guys around. So I'm gonna take one more drink. And maybe I'll learn how to cut these out eventually. I'm going to show you here on the screen how I prepped for this conversation. And please pardon the chicken scratches, but it helps me be able to know what to say and how to keep us on track, because I don't want to take up too much of your time, but at the same time, what I have to say is important. So I'm making sure that I leave enough space to cover all of the topics, and that's kind of how I'll start each of our videos together. So for those who are just listening to audio, I will talk about each of these topics soon, but for description purpose, I have a whiteboard in my office that I use for ideating, coming up with good ideas, or mapping out like kind of my initial strategy of how I want to do something or a project. So I used this and laid out 6 different key topics that I want to cover today. And kind of to summarize all of them into one, we're going to be talking about an analogy referencing a tree a lot. That is kind of the foundational metaphor that I've chosen to explain my philosophy for going about marketing now. And why I say now and why I say different, and it's not different or revolutionary or whatever. As a professional in partner marketing, I realize the impact and heaviness that community has in support of whatever you're doing, whether that be the community of customers that you have following you, the community that supports you without purchase, the community that, you know, straight up just speaks highly of you in a room when you're not there. That's the community that I want to really nurture and make sure that whatever I'm saying on this podcast really circles back to that sense of community and using it as a way to go back to how, we used to do marketing back before any of the technology that we have today is here. It was straight up value exchange, What do I have that is beneficial to you? What do you have that's beneficial to me? Let's do a swappy swap, do a little trade, and, there you go. But it's changed now that we've included basically the measurement of value of others and attributing it to a label or a job title, or even going as far to say like your vibe. Like sometimes people associate with what they do in their career as their whole personality, and that's okay. I'm very much a community marketer through and through, and I think that's beautiful, and it's okay to love what you do. But know that if I took all the money away and I wasn't getting paid, which right now, we're starting out and it's a little tough, but it's okay. I have faith that the people that will want to hear me will come. But if you take that money element away, the value that you bring is the value you bring to people and business that really see that. And that's what I wanted to talk about today. Starting us off today, I wanted to remind people that everybody has a purpose here. And I know it sounds very cliche or very silly or, oh, who is she to say she, whatever your perception is. But the fact of the matter is, even though you may not get paid for the value that you have, you still have that value. And I wanted to share a wonderful story of an experience I had earlier in June where I had the opportunity to speak with the grade 12 students at my hometown high school right before they go into the big crazy world that is reality. But while I was there, I got to talk to them about that value. And I wanted to shout out a wonderful business collaborator that I work with. Really, she's my friend as well. Her name is Patricia Braley. If you're not following her, goodness, listen to her video. She's wonderful at speaking and being so clear and concise and calm in a manner that makes you want to listen, And when I met her the first time, she introduced this concept to me, which is you should see your superpower for what it is. And nobody, when she said this, I chuckled, like you are. Oh, your superpower. I'm not, and I can't even remember his name. Clark something. Anyways, don't hate me. Don't hate me. Superman wasn't told that his superpowers were his superpowers. He just knew. And it's the same as your innate superpower that you're given as a human here on Earth, Like, everybody's good at something, even if you don't actually have a monetary value attached to that. Like, you can't tell me that an artist that is not yet an accomplished artist is less of an artist as one who is accomplished, right? You can't say that someone doesn't have value when they're still figuring their value out and building those skills. So she helped me realize that my superpower, and bless her heart, basically is the gift of gab, putting it quite frank. But my superpower is being able to talk to people, all types of people. It doesn't matter who you are. It could literally be random guy in the grocery store, right? Like, I have this knack of listening and communicating back what value or what differentiates you from others. And that's my marketing background, right? Like, I can have a conversation with somebody, they can tell me about their biggest dreams, and I fully am bought in, because people that have that passion and that drive of a dream, they're the ones that are gonna make change, And if anything, what we need now is a lot of that change. And it's scary, I know, but listen, hear me out. So going back to the example of the high school students, as I was presenting, I said, I want you to go around the room and tell me what people say you're really good at, even if it's not a job. And I left it at that because I wanted to see what they would say. And what they said, it made me chuckle. You know, they are grade 12s, they have senioritis, they're like, get me out of here, I just want to leave first, you know, but, you know, some good things came from it. So one girl said, you know, she chuckled and said, I'm bossy. And I said, you know what, girl? Being bossy is actually an amazing skill to have. But you need to couple it with emotional intelligence to know that I am bossy because I know that basically crap needs to get done, so to speak. And if you're the girl who can delegate and say, hey, I need you to do this, and you need to go do that, and you need to do that, and I'm telling you to do these things based off of your skill set, and specifically telling them that I need you because you're good at this, that delegation strategy is going to move mountains, right? Another guy said, you know, he said he wanted to go into forestry, but when I asked him what people say he's really good at, it was making people laugh when they're sad. And I think that's beautiful. Like, and especially for a masculine energy to have that awareness of, man, I can make people laugh when I'm feeling sad. That's really good work, you know? And now he knows that when he's in sad situations, because that's life, it's gonna get tough, not just for you, but for everybody around you. Being that light and being that happiness that you can bring someone, like, that is, in my opinion, again, this is just my opinion, that's like so nice. And I hope that in the future he can match that love of the ecosystem and nature in forestry and pair that with making people laugh, you know? And I think just holding those values and showing him that he can be aware of that was a huge step for me. So I just wanted to share that little example so that sorry, my boyfriend called. I'll share this with you guys. He is adorable. We have Tiki Talk time. His name is like Ty, and yeah, he calls me all the time on his drive home. So sorry about that. Let me continue. So, you know, once I was able to uncover that these students had a purpose and a value that wasn't defined by monetary contributions or monetary reward, you know, I started to say, like, what if you could start your own business and you could show that value to others and they would come to you because they value that value? Like, that would be very influential. And just showing them that they can do it. And that's another part of it, right? I was saying, in my work, in my philosophy, helping people dream bigger than where they're at right now when they're feeling small and worthless or not as good as, you know, comparatively, whatever the case may be. When I help them think bigger and I say, hey, listen, let's make a plan to do it. Like, this is feasible. Let's weigh out our options. Let's lay the land. Like, I'll talk you through kind of what my thought process is for that, but we'll get into that another day. But for now, you know, the most important part of what I do and what I'm hoping my philosophy in sharing this with you is that you can motivate people to just do it. You know, if you tell them, hey, listen, your value is incomparable to anybody else that does this because it's you, and because you have an experience that is unlike literally anybody else on the planet, right? And when you realize that, it helps you unlock a lot of confidence, because now, instead of forcing yourself out of bed every morning to get up at 5 o'clock so that you have a little bit of time before you need to commute to work, or, man, I've been in bed all weekend and I don't want to get up because I don't feel like I need to go to work except to literally eat and live. Like, that isn't fun, and it shows at work. But when people know that what they do and the reason they wake up every day is to show that value every day at work, then it becomes more or less an obligation and more of motivation to want to do that. And when people want to contribute to your dream, that's why I'm speaking this way, is to show that visionaries, CEOs, people who come up with the ideas, like, we're only facilitators of this idea. You have to have people that know how to execute and also know how to encourage and have a good environment around you, so that when you do build your team and you do go out and seek others to help you fulfill this dream of yours, that you recognize that each of them has value. And understanding the contribution to that, I think, is key. And that's something that I'm going to be working with a couple different organizations on developing, is understanding how can you quantify that value. Yes, if the circumstance is the goal of the company is monetary increase, revenue increase, more sales, bigger growth, then yes, everybody's value that is on the team should have quantifiable evidence of the influence that they have on the revenue generated. And that looks like understanding day-to-day tasks. Like, what do you do in the run of a day? What does your calendar look like? When you're trying to book in meetings, what are you pushing? What are you prioritizing? Those things that you do every day, your typical day, is where you start. Once you do that, you can take a step back and understand, what does this task actually influence? Does it prevent a risk from happening or prevent a loss from happening? A loss of a customer, a loss of money, a loss of reputation, a loss of time? Or does it contribute to additional influence of your goal? So that could look like, when I schedule a post, for example, and I've generated that post, and that post gets us views of 100,000 people, well, my influence would be, of those 100,000 people, on average, 1 or 2% will eventually come to us over their lifetime of awareness. So if I understand that 1 or 2% of those people attributing that value to the task of scheduling that post, well, I just helped the company at some point make X amount of dollars, depending on what your cost of product is or cost per customer is. Well, that is going to show that employee that, oh my gosh, I got out of bed today so that I could schedule a kick-ass post, so that when the person who really needs my company's value sees that, well, it'll be in their mind. And maybe it's okay if I don't get it today, but maybe that customer will come down the road and I influence that, right? Well, by scheduling, I avoided, I don't know what the example would be here. When I was working with my sister on mapping out her value, because she, well, I'll keep it disclosed, but she doesn't make enough in her role. And I was trying to communicate, like, what are the effects of what you do in the day, right? And she was telling me how she needed to apply for a permit for work. And a better example of risk involved, risk involved in your job could be, I do not get that license or that certification, therefore our project is delayed by 5 days. Every day that it is delayed, it costs the company like $5,000 or whatever that money is. Every time you're doing something, even if you're just having a meeting about whatever you're influencing, that there is why you go to work, right? And it makes it a lot easier to attribute monetary value and rewards to a system that's set up to quantify the intangible value or the actions that are done by your employees. So I was chatting with a fellow entrepreneur yesterday, and she is, bless her heart, amazing. A little bit more seasoned of an entrepreneur than I am, but I am always excited to chat with others. And not only just entrepreneurs, and that's what we were saying. She was saying how she really relates to entrepreneurs, you know, like she feels their passion because she has that passion for what she does, because she's the visionary, you know. And she said, I find it hard to kind of communicate that to others, but when I was explaining this concept of value attribution or value communication, she, like, I could see the wheels starting to spin, you know, and she was like, you know, I feel like, and the consensus was, not quoting her directly, but she'll think about that next time she hires someone. If somebody comes to your company and says, I need a job because I need to pay my bills, well, that person has a different motivation than somebody that comes to you and says, I like what you're doing and I want to join. You know, that there are different goals, and employers need to understand that people are out here trying to live, and until they have enough money to live sustainably and comfortably, once they have that, then they will start, you know. But you can bring a little element of that passion into your day-to-day, even if you're just there to make money and pay your bills. If you understood that value attribution, and it goes for marketing as well. I know I'm venturing a little bit into HR territory, but marketing is very much about psychology and understanding the brain and how humans interpret their surroundings and what motivates them to actually take action and do something to make a change, right? All of those things kind of wrap into this one topic. That's why I wanted to kind of kick us off on the right foot. Once you understand that it's all about just a contribution, like what is your contribution? I was reading this amazing book called The Art of Possibility, and the authors escape me. I can add it in the show notes description. I can't believe I just said that. I hear my podcasters say that, and it's just so for real. It was saying about this woman who was doing kind of a traditional dance down by the ocean. And when the man walked up to her, he realized that she wasn't dancing. She was gracefully, basically flinging starfish into the ocean. And when he looked up and down the ocean, the beach, he saw thousands of starfish peppering miles of this beach. And he said to the lady, what are you doing? Like, you realize there's like thousands of these little starfish. You throwing these starfish into the ocean isn't gonna do much. And she swoops down and she grabs another starfish and she flings it off into the ocean. And she laughs and she looks at him and she says, well, it may not matter to all, but it sure does matter to that one that's in the ocean now. And that is an amazing example of how, even if it is small, everybody has a contribution because everybody has unique value. That unique value, that special way about you, that's what I love to bring out of people. And that's why I love marketing, because when I lean into people's ideas and I think it's possible, well, it changes the game because they realize that maybe it could be. This girl's done a lot of marketing in the past. If she thinks that my idea is good, and she's telling me she can give me a plan, and she's telling me I can actually do it because people love it? What? Right? That mindset shift is one of the most important, because before you do literally anything, before you start thinking about going out and finding partners or distributors of your product, or what is my product going to even be, or whatever that is, the delivery, what comes first is the mindset. and the order of values that you are creating your tree on. Get back into that example a little bit more, but when you have this mindset, and this is the mindset I'm taking into entrepreneurship with me and with this PartnerPath podcast, excuse me, you don't have to compete with other people. Oh, I said it. Oh my God, I said it. You don't have to compete because you are special in your own way. And understanding that differentiation is basically marketing to a T. And telling that story and just being real, being authentically you and showing that value is like an immeasurable asset to your marketing strategy, so to speak, right? Knowing it's possible, having a plan, and doing it, all of those things. And when you're doing that, it's going to attract other people that have that same mindset that you do. And then you're going to start to see that, man, organic marketing is actually a lot easier than I thought, because I'm sharing and I know specifically the people that are going to take benefit of this value I have to offer. And if I can show them how I can change their lives and I can deliver my value in a way that benefits them, eventually you're going to start making a portfolio of customers that want to benefit you too. And that's basically corporate social responsibility, right? When you have a team of customers that are so bought into what you do and what you stand for, and the people that you support through the profit of your business, that is how you develop loyalty. And that is how you don't need to compete with everybody. When you're fine-tuned of who you are, who you're speaking to, and what that value is, the rest falls into place with a little bit of expertise, right? But having that and going into a pitch competition or getting your first POC, your first proof of concept customer, testing it out, trialing, all of that helps you get there. When I'm thinking about this concept of competing with people and how it's basically the anti-hero or like the opposite of what I stand for, which is collaboration, knowing that it can be tit for tat, or so to speak, that's probably not the best thing to say on a podcast, but you get what I'm saying, right? Like when you give reciprocity, you get too, right? When you speak your why and you speak your purpose, they'll start to speak their why and their purpose back, and when they align, you'll have something really good. So when you dissolve the expectation of always competing with others, your competitors, knowing the latest insight, knowing the feature set, what do they have that we don't, or what do we have that they don't, when you set that aside, your competition comes not from value, but from time. What are you going to set aside to now show your value even more, now that you know what it is and you don't need to compete? What is going to need to take a step back so that you can reach those people and you can deliver that value impeccably, right? And it goes also into your personal life too. Like, how much personal time are you going to spend being able to develop this skill and develop this so that you can offer it as something that gives you stability, right? Once you realize that your value is actually just time, when you are super set and pinpointed on what your goal or what your value is and what you're yearning for, a better life, a better way of living, a better situation in general, like now it starts to be a sacrifice of reading, of gaming, of gardening, of watching TV, whatever your happy time is that's not work. Like, you now have to compete with that, because to differentiate you need lots of it, right? And so if I took the monetary away and we just had time, people, if they know they're valued and they know that they're part of a contribution towards something greater than they are, they're going to jump at the chance to work with you, because they know that when they're spending their precious time that they could be on a beach, reading a book, listening to music, doing what makes them happy, when you show them that their value is contributing to better things, they will just join you. They will. And I trust that they will. And obviously, in this system that we are put in of exchange, monetary compensation is the currency currently of value. So leadership, please know that when you are putting out your next job description, or you're creating your continuity plan, or making sure that your strategy is sustainable, know who's doing what and why. Understand the attribution of value that their tasks give to the bigger picture. What does that look like for everybody in the company? And then how are you going to make sure that they are in the best environment possible in terms of their life and their light, to perform in a way that gives back to your cause and your why and your purpose, right? It's all a cycle. And we'll talk more about this cyclical marketing, so to speak, or like understanding how everything kind of flows together in terms of legitimate marketing, not just me talking about people's value. We will get into the strategy side soon. But I just wanted to really drive home that the visionaries that have that passion, those entrepreneurs, the people that go off the beaten path, we need to know what other people's value is, what strengths do they bring to the table, and how can we make sure that we are aware of our strength of passion and drive and goals, and make sure that we align with theirs as well, right? When we're all on the same track, we're getting to the same station. Little macadam pun. But yeah, I think I've covered basically everything I wanted to today. My last little note that I had on my topic list was no comp, just collab. And I'm going to be taking that philosophy with me into the PartnerPath podcast, into my consultancy and my work that I'm doing with amazing organizations that align with my why and my purpose. And I'm so excited to share all of the experiences I've had leading up to this, whether they be good, really good, or really challenging. But like I said, my main thing is I want to show you guys that you can do hard things too, right? Life is tough. I'll circle back. Sometimes you don't want to get out of bed. It's just life. But when you know that you're part of something bigger and what you're doing is contributing to good and to your purpose, it's a lot easier to put your feet on the floor and drag your butt out of bed. And that's all I want for everybody, because selfishly, if people were more happy and they didn't hate everybody else, then maybe life would be a little easier and a little nicer. A girl can dream. Now, thank you guys for joining me on the second episode of our podcast. I'm super excited to get into more topics with you. It'll look a little like this. Some could be longer, some could be shorter. I'm just kind of going with the flow here. And the woman I was speaking to yesterday asked if I was going to be bringing on guests. And I fortunately have bought 4 of these bad boys. But so that said, a little teaser. We'll see what comes out of this. But for now, you can listen to me chat, gab, my gift of gab. Anyways, thank you guys so much for showing up and for listening. And if this sparks a little bit of change in you or flips your perspective on something, that's all that I could hope for. So thank you, and see you next time.